Hey everybody, what's up? Bryce Koon here, and man, we are excited to bring back a Georgia Tech talk show. How y'all doing tonight? It's a lovely, lovely night. Let's go get some questions here. Man, Joseph Giver, so this the spot now instead of Locked On? It indeed is. Joseph, hit that sub button and let us know. Hey, get us to 200 subs because we're going to be doing a weekly show. Once the season starts, we're going to be going double on that as well. My man, Michael, we're going to get to this question. Where do I think the football team will take the greatest steps forward and backwards in 2022? Michael, appreciate you. ADW Wells with that first big comment. Hey, make sure to check us out, Crowded Booth, the whole channel. We've got some great stuff, just general sports talk as well. But this Georgia Tech show will be awesome as well. My man, Jacob, awesome to have you back. Jacob, it's good to be back, man. You know, sometimes, and I'll tell you one thing, this will be a little bit more informal than what we usually do. But, you know, sometimes you have to just take a little bit of a mental break. And you got to find what makes you have fun again. And this is going to be when we have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about Georgia Tech. You can see we're not in a normal setup here, so that's okay. And I want to let you know, too, if you are watching us live on Twitter right now, I cannot see your comments, and that's okay. Just something that Twitter does weird, so we need to get you over and hop onto that YouTube link as well. Well, listen, as you know, if you don't know, my name is Bryce Koon. Let's get you right here. Michael Lane, I've been missing you. Michael, missed you too as well. Countdown days of the wedding. Yeah, a lot of people don't know. I am getting actually married in June. So June the 4th, perfect. It won't affect spring ball, anything like that. No, I'm excited. 100 days from today, we'll be putting the finishing touches on that. So we're excited about that as well. Well, listen, let's talk a little bit about this Georgia Tech. And I'm going to be monitoring the Twitter chat as well, kind of what's going on. Like I said, if you are watching, this is what I need you to do. I need you to hit the subscribe button, and then I need you to set up notifications so you know we're going to go live. We're going to try to do a Thursday night kind of thing. We're going to make it a little bit earlier. Tonight had to change some things, 9:45, and we're not going to do that late normally. My man Tate, so glad you're doing this, Bryce. Tate, I appreciate it. I'm glad that we're doing this back again. Appreciate it. Keep going. Congrats on getting married. Thank you so much. I'm excited. So let's talk about it. I mean, listen, this spring practice was back today. There's no doubt in my mind that this is something that a lot of us were excited. So I want you to throw in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to see spring practice back? Because this is something that I know a lot of people were excited. I'm ready. I'll never hate the fact that spring practice is coming back because this is something that it means really there's no such thing as an off season. And listen, I love it so much. Let's get a couple comments right there. My man Michael, he says he's a 12 out of 10. He's excited. My man Jacob as well with a 10 out of 10. Jacob, you got your beat, my friend. That's okay though. Well, listen, a couple things we're going to put down here in this link. Join our Discord conversation. It's a good time as well. But let's dive in and let's talk about this. Now, this is how we're going to set the show up. We're going to talk about spring practice. I'm going to talk about some of the transfer outs. My man Tate there with a 15. And then we're going to answer questions. So if you throw a question in, Michael, I know you throw the question in. I'm going to keep that rolling up until tomorrow. That's or up until not tomorrow. We're going to keep that rolling up until the next thing we have going on. Listen, if you're part of those Facebook groups, make sure to hit the like, subscribe button, and share it with your Georgia Tech friends. This is going to be, I'm telling you right now, the best place to get your Georgia Tech information. A little bit about me, if you don't know who I am, cover Georgia Tech for 24/7 Sports. Also work as one of the radio broadcasters for baseball, do obviously broadcasting as well. So I'm going to be in Atlanta a lot here in the next couple of weeks, and I'm excited about that as well. Let's dive in. Spring practice started this week, and a lot of people were concerned with how early it was compared to retroactive to other schools as well. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, when we were there today and kind of talking through this, and yes, Jacob, to answer your question, yes, didn't really post anything because I wanted to kind of save it for tonight. But being there, first off, I'll tell you this. The biggest standouts from day one, and the biggest standout day one for me is this man right here. And I'm going to show you a picture of him. He was on one of the podcasts I did previously. But this young man right here, and if you don't know who he is, you need to figure out because this kid's going to impress. And so that's going to kind of open up our conversation of what we're going to be talking about because I want to make sure that we can get this picture in there and it works perfectly. Once again, I'm running a one-man show today for this. Normally we're going to have someone else in there. So let's see if we can get this right here for you. I want to make sure you can see it. I think that works right there. Do everyone know who that is right there? Zach Gibson. I'm going to tell you one thing. This young man throws a pretty ball. He's got some zip on it, and he can seemingly put it where he wants. Now, listen, a lot of this stuff is running 7-on-7, but there's just something about it when you watch a guy, and we've talked a lot about this. When if you listen to the Locked On interview I did with Zach, he's determined to come in and push. And I've talked with people around the ACC and around that know this Georgia Tech program. Zach Gibson has this ability. He has the opportunity to push. And listen, he's gonna push. There's no doubt about it. Zach Gibson's gonna be a guy that pushes Jeff Sims. That was one of the biggest takeaways for me. Is this is a guy who spins the ball very well. He does a lot with the football, and I think just his overall IQ is just it's high. And I think that's one of the things they brought him in. Listen, it wasn't like it was a big time transfer. The big headline. It wasn't Caleb Williams. It wasn't, a Spencer Rattler or, Calzada. But this is a kid that has a chip on his shoulder, and we've said this multiple times. He's got a chip on his shoulder, but most importantly, he's a gamer. And I think that no matter what happens, and we're going to continue to see this in the spring game, and going into the spring game, I think if you are on the fence, listen, I understand. If you're a little frustrated with how the team's going, I think that I get that, but you should come to the spring game just to watch this kid play, at least, and watch this new offense. Speaking of that new offense, and like I said, I see y'all got some questions in there, and my man Jacob, drama alert. Yeah, you never know, Jacob. We like to ruffle feathers on this show and on this platform. The biggest thing about Gibson, in my opinion, and going back to that, is he's going to be able to push, and he's going to be able to make moves with that, and I think his ability, he's not a runner. He doesn't have the feet that Jeff Sims has, but he's capable. I mean, he's capable of escaping the pocket, moving around the pocket. He's going to be able to do some things that I think are really good. We're going to take a look at some film, later on as we get this show more developed and everything as well. But I think the biggest thing is, in my opinion, that was one of the best decisions they made, was bringing in a quarterback to push Jeff Sims. Because no matter what happens, you're going to be better. If you give the job to Jeff Sims off the bat, it's not like Jeff Sims is a bad player. It's just you need to give him real competition. Zach Pyron is going to be another very interesting candidate. I think he's going to push both guys. I don't see him taking a job unless something crazy or unfortunate happens. But this is a job. This is going to be a battle. And I'll tell you this: the big media personalities may not paint it as that, but I'm going to tell you one thing: it will be a true battle to see what he can do for sure. So let's go right here and let's talk a little bit more. Let's talk about Chip Long's offense. And I think the thing with Chip Long is Long has the ability, and Long with this offense, he did what he did at Georgia Tech or at Notre Dame and then at Tulane. But Tulane was a weird year. I see my man Gavin Hart down there. Gavin, we appreciate you, brother. Strictly talking Georgia Tech here tonight on the episode of Swarm Talk under the umbrella of the crowded booth. But I think the biggest thing about this offense is going to be day one, they wanted to bring this in, and they wanted to essentially say, hey, we are going to install early. We're going to give these guys an opportunity and a chance to get some reps under their belt, because when you're introducing a new scheme, you want guys to get as much experience as possible, as many reps as possible. And so introducing it early on allows these guys, there's some interesting rules with the NCAA about how the contact in the summer can be. But it allows guys like Jeff Sims, guys like Zach Gibson to go and work with maybe a group of receivers or get together with some guys, tight ends, running backs, and go through these things. But it also allows for an offensive line unit that has seen a couple players, and I'm high on Chio and as well as Quick. I think this offensive line is going to be improved. That's one of the biggest things that I think is going to be interesting to see. But this offense right here is going to be very, very I think there's going to be great opportunities for it. And in the words of Jeff Collins today, this offense is going to make whoever's a quarterback. He put Jeff Sims because obviously that's going to be kind of the guy that's in the driver's seat in this job right now. But with this, I think the biggest thing is that this offense is going to look better. They're just going to look cleaner. They're going to have an identity. That's one of the biggest things. And I was talking on Southern Pigskin Radio down in Savannah, Coastal Georgia, ESPN Coastal Georgia earlier today. And that was what we talked about. This offense needs an identity. Too oftentimes when you don't have an identity, you don't know what you want to commit to. And it's one of those things that you're not really great at anything. And I think I almost said Chip Kelly. Chip Long is going to be the guy that comes in and establishes that. I love this offensive coaching staff. Chris Winkie, Mike Daniels working with these running backs. We got to see him today working with that group. We're going to talk about that group specifically and some of the transfers that are in that came and went. And I think that they did a great job. And honestly, that it's all going to be okay. But for Georgia Tech, it has to be finding an offensive identity. I think that started today. Obviously it starts with, guys getting some film early on, but getting on the field and getting back into a playing type of atmosphere, running real reps, live reps against a guy, not just on air. And so I think that that's something that's going to be really pivotal for them to establish the identity here early on. Going on to, one of the bigger things that stood out to me today, and then we'll kind of wrap up talking about day one of spring practice. And I'll answer your questions, and that doesn't mean your questions won't be answered. Once again, if you're watching on Twitter, you need to go over to YouTube so we can see your questions and all of that kind of stuff as well. And we're going to get to some of those. But the biggest thing for me is defensively. And I talked about this as this new scheme. You have Tillman on the back end. You've got David. You got a lot of new parts, but with some old faces. And the biggest ones is being Collins and Thacker. And I know there was a lot of conversation about what's going to happen, what's that going to look like, who's going to be calling plays. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I think there's an accountability aspect that may have not been there previously. I think that the guys that you were going to see on the field in September, that first game Monday night against Clemson, are going to be guys that, one, have bought in. They're fully bought in, and they're bought into the idea of what this group wants to do. And two, they know their ability and they know what they need to do. Listen, defensively, one of the biggest things, and I think this is not only just in football, but in life, when you know what you want to do, it makes your job 10 times easier. I think, guys, we're going to see right here, and excuse me, because we got doors closing and whatnot. We're not in our normal spot. But the biggest thing is when you have guys that are moving, you have guys that are changing positions, or maybe they're learning something different, knowing baseline what they need to know and how they need to play, it frees you up. It's often the old adage, when you play fast in football, you're better. When you start to slow things down and think about it too much, and I think one of the biggest things they're going to do is it's going to be a simple scheme that they're going to throw in there defensively. They're not going to get too cute with it, and they're going to build off of that, because you got to kind of let's start over, and I think we're going to see some different looks defensively. I think that we're going to see some things. I think we're going to see guys that are playing more free. And you say, Bryce, what do you mean by that? You're going to see guys that know their job. You're going to see guys that know where they need to go, know where they need to be, know what gap to fill. They know who they've got. They got pre-snap communication is going to be one of the biggest things if this defense is successful in 2022. And I think it's all started today. It started previously with looking at film of what they wanted to do, what they want to change. We documented all last season about how that secondary wanted to do better. Well, now you're 2 years in a row of wanting to do better. And it's got a new group in there. And I think we're going to see some things that are quite encouraging on that front. But knowing what you want to do, it allows you to play free. It allows you to play with the ability of, I know my job, and now I can play 110%. Now I can play with, I don't want to say with a fire lit underneath me, but I can play with an ability that is going to allow me to play with my instincts. And that's what everyone's great at. There's a lot of guys that they're great instinct players, but they got to get the X's and O's down. If this group knows what they are doing, knows their assignments, knows what they have to do, Georgia Tech has the athletes to compete. I've talked with people who've hinted me on this roster. When you look up and down, they've got the players to be better than a 3-win team. The biggest change from that is going to be knowing what you're doing. You can have anything you want, but if you don't know what your job is, then I can't put you out on the field. And I think that's going to be one of the big things that you're going to see. The 11 guys that start on defense, and you're going to have some rotational pieces as well. Those are going to be guys that know their job, and they know what to do. And that's how it should be. And I hope we do see that indeed. Hey, listen, I want to take a break real quick before we answer some of your questions and kind of doing just a quicker little bit of a show tonight. And once again, hit that subscribe button here on the Crowded Booth, because we got great content that my co-host Ralph Leary and I put out. Listen, we're also local. We're regional as well. So we're going to have a lot of different things we're going to be talking about throughout, this. But we're also going to be keeping this is going to be where your Georgia Tech weekly talk show. We're going to expound upon that. We're going to grow this. Remember talking to y'all last season. We love doing it. If you're in the chat right now, let me know, because I know the guys, the people that have been here since last fall, you need to tell the people in the chat right now, hey, this is the place you want to be when we're going over game film. We're recapping a game. We're kind of looking ahead, because that was a lot of fun. I can't wait to kind of get into that more and more. But here's a couple things for you. I want to let you know, Section 103, you see them right there. I'm rocking the hoodie tonight. They've got great baseball stuff. They've got awesome gear. Use code Crowded Booth, the Crowded Booth, for 10% off your first order. Listen, it's a steal. You need to do it. They've got the best gear. I've heard y'all talk about y'all want some better gear. Well, Section 103's probably got the best out there. Let's answer some questions. Now, I see some questions already in here, and then we are going to kind of wrap that up, and we're going to talk about your questions. So let's go right here. Let's go to my man Michael Lane. Michael says, and Michael, let me know if you're still watching, because I don't want to answer your question, you not be in here. Bryce, where do you think the football team will take the greatest steps forward and backwards in 2022? This is an interesting question, Michael. And I think the greatest step forward is, I think, identity. I think they're going to find an identity. Now, backwards, I don't know if I would even identify, because it's so early on. But I think that forwards, there's not much you can go more backwards on. And I think forwards, there from an identity, it's often understated how much confidence plays into this. When you know what you're doing and you know what you want to do, man, you're able to create opportunities for yourself and have advantages. And I think that's one of the biggest things. So, Michael, I'll go right there. I already answered your question about the wedding and everything. Jacob, yes. AD Wells, how was the energy of the players? AD Wells, appreciate you tuning in tonight, man. I appreciate that. Let's talk about this, the energy, because a lot of people have been frustrated with kind of the marketing point. The energy's high. But there's a sense of urgency. There's a sense of urgency, and it's a healthy one. It's not a desperation, but it's let's get the job done. We've talked a lot. We've done this. We've done that. But let's get the job done and move forward and have some pieces, and let's win some ball games. You know, I don't think anyone's expecting to go 9-3 or 10-2. That'd be fantastic. But let's go win 7 games. Let's change it. And I think there's a sense of accountability top to bottom. Listen. I've said this on our Discord chat and GoJackets.com forums. You have to have buy-in from top to bottom, and I think that they're starting to get that with this new coaching staff as well. My man Tate right there. Will Georgia take out a fourth quarterback through the portal? This is not something that I don't know if they are necessarily really looking at, Tate. I think that when you go to the portal, there's a certain things that you're going to look at. Let's just be honest, there's certain things that they need. A pass rusher, linebacker maybe, wide receiver, still looking for that. So that's going to be something as well that I think they're going to look at. Michael Lane, does Griffin still practice while on the portal? No, he's officially in the portal. Once you kind of do that, you're no longer a part of that team. You're kind of in a limbo, and it's kind of a weird situation in there. My man Jacob Rainwater, how'd Luke Benson look? Well, listen, Benson is a guy that he can stretch the field. I think he's a great athlete. But, this tight end room is going to be better. Dylan Devaney coming back and healthy is going to be one of the biggest things for this group. Because no matter who starts at quarterback, you've got to have that safety valve. And you've got to have that safety net to be able to kind of check down. And that was one of the biggest things that frustrated me about the offense last year is the lack of check downs. It just kind of felt like you were running playing 7-on-7 flag football, and guys were just kind of going 40 yards down the field, deep post, maybe a fade, maybe something like that. I think that that's going to be one of the biggest things going forward is having that check down. So the combination of Devaney, Benson, and some other guys are going to be really big. But Luke Benson's going to be a really big piece of this offense. Tate, next commitment will be on offense or defense. Tate, we're going to go, if it's class of 2023, I'm going to pick the offensive side of the football. If you're talking transfer portal as a commitment, if that counts, I'm going to go defensive side. That's where I'm going to sit in that. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things going forward because, listen, they need commitments, obviously 23 class, but let's also kind of take a breath here for a second and let's understand that, the college football is going to be different, and it's easy to overreact. It's easy to, get frustrated with maybe the lack thereof certain things. But I think that we're going to see the portal used pretty heavily. I think we're also going to see we're going to see some things changing. And so I would say that they're going to have a commitment here or there that is going to do just that. I want to read you some of the notes that I took today from practice. And this was what Collins said in his presser. He said that they felt like the offensive transition to Coach Long had been a seamless one so far. They kind of did a great thing of seamlessly kind of bringing it all together, alignment would be the biggest word, is what we preach. And it includes playing physical, which we knew Brent Key wanted this offensive line to do. And I've said this, you got to have the players to do it. And I think Brent Key is slowly getting there, having the players to do just that. They felt like they hit the ground running. The guys were prepared. They were able to do that. And kind of the biggest thing, and this might go understated, as I see my friend Section 103 in there. Section 103, hey, let's get another little series win this weekend, Gardner Webb. I'm going to be rocking the shirt. I'll take a picture for you, and we'll get that rolling as well. But the goal for Jeff Collins and this staff, I think between now and Clemson, is to put the best product out there. And I know that kind of goes understated. But, going back to the running back room, it's suffered a loss. But I think Mike Daniels done a fantastic job. I mean, Jordan Mason turns pro. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamias Griffin joined the portal. But ready to step in the void, to me, is veteran Dante Smith, who has been one of the more unheralded backs in the ACC. This is a guy who has top-end speed. He's got explosive abilities. And you put in a guy like Hassan Hall, who, the resume speaks for itself. Go watch his highlight tape. Hassan Hall, and someone described to me as, he is a one-cut guy. He is one of the best guys that he can make someone miss and then take off. His acceleration, and Jeff Collins said today, he has real-life speed. Antonio Martin's going to be that third back they'll be counted on to contributing, and I think that it's going to be something that is going to be very, very cool to see how he emerges, because I think he's a young, really, really talented young man. Going back to that quarterback, here was one of the notes. Sims right now is going to return as that starter. I think Zach Gibson's going to give him one heck of a ride in pushing him for that competition. But now listen, this is no disrespect to the previous staff, but you're entering an opportunity in a time where you can have you can have a guy like Chris Winkie and Chip Long, who, whether we want to admit it or not, Winkie obviously did what he did, but Chip Long, and I know nationally not a lot of people like Notre Dame, but what Notre Dame has accomplished is nothing just, run of the mill. There's 115 other teams that want to do what Notre Dame's doing. And Chip Long was a big reason of that. Now, did they win all the big games, against your Alabamas, your Clemsons? Not really, but you could probably count on both hands how many teams have beaten Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and all these other programs, Ohio State, in the past 5 years. They've been in kind of that tier, tier one's those teams. They've been like a tier two team, and Chip Long was a big reason of that. He helped develop Ian Book, and I think that is, listen, Ian Book, he was a great college quarterback, one of the most winningest quarterbacks in Notre Dame history. I think that's going to be something that's very, very interesting. And then kind of about both Zachs, Gibson and Pyron. Here's some of my notes as well on this. They've done a good job learning the system, and they have a good grasp of what they want to do. Going defense real quick as we wrap up kind of my notes here. I know the show's kind of been all over the place, but I appreciate y'all for sticking with me. Katavian Franks is back out there. That's a big piece that's going to come back. Demetrius Knight is going to come back. He's around 240 pounds. Second-year back, Trinius Tatum is going to be a guy that's going to be a special teams contributor, as well as could see time as a rotation guy. Ace Ely and Charlie Thomas is one of the biggest things, and having a guy like Jason Seymour come into this program, back to the program, I should say, and kind of take over where he left off, I think it's going to be huge. There's 14 practices remaining for this staff. The young guys have played and want to play more, and it's their chance. And Collins said this, you can see a level of intensity and focus which is healthy. These guys are hungry, and I think that's what you want out of a team. Listen, we fans, we get down and we say these things as we kind of close it off here. We get down and we say, it's frustrating. It's stressful to see kind of what's going on, 9 wins in 3 seasons. But when you have guys that, like are described, are hungry, they're ready to go. They're ready to take that next step. That doesn't sound like a program that's down and feeling bad for itself. Now, listen, the fan base can feel bad for itself, and I get that. But to have a locker room that's not doing that, it's going to be really, really huge. And then, like we talked about, and Colin said today, the biggest thing that he wants is this group playing on the same page, and that's the defensive secondary. We didn't have to hype up anything, Colin said. We need to go out every single day, play clean football, execute at a high level, and play physical and together. And that goes back to the question that ADW Wells had. How was the energy? You didn't have to hype it up. You don't have to manufacture. And that's why I say this, is because this team, Bill Parcells had the old quote of every single, you are who your record says you are. And I don't believe that. You can't tell me that a 3-9 Georgia Tech team is the same as a 3-9 Akron team. They're not. The strength of schedule is different. If you gave them Akron's schedule, they're probably going 9-3. It's one of those things that I think you have to be very careful about how you look at that, and you have to understand what was there. And we'll end it off with this. This will be kind of it. Any last questions? Go ahead and get them in the chat. Also, let me know how you like the show, and as well, let's spam that chat right there real quick. If you're on Twitter, make sure to head over to YouTube, Crowd a Booth. That's where under Storm Talk. That's the name of the show. We got the cool looking background. We're going to have some cool stuff coming out with it. The biggest thing for me, you got to have guys that want to play, and you got to have guys that want to play for you. And if you don't have that, you'll never be successful. We said this last fall. If you have guys that are not bought in, it's not going to work from top to bottom. From the administrative assistant that sits outside the front desk of Jeff Collins, to the nutritionist, to the athletic trainer, to the ball boys. Everyone has to be bought in. It is hard to win in college football. It's even harder to win consistently. And it's near impossible to be elite. You got to have that buy-in. And if you don't have it, you won't be successful. And I think that they're starting to turn a corner. This coaching staff is, I'm telling you, one of the more underrated hires that they were able to pull off this past offseason. I think that they did a great job of it. They're hitting the ground running, and they're saying all the right things. Now, the naysayers that we want to play devil's advocate, you say, well, Bryce, they've been saying the right things for 3 years and nothing's happened of it. I get that. I understand that. This is different. It's just different. The demeanor's different, and I encourage you, if they allow fans to come out of practice, to be there. And listen, I encourage you to. March 17th, be there. March 17th, be there. Spring game, I'm going to be there. But I encourage you to be there because it's going to be something special, because I think that this group has a different mindset. And we'll end off with this. Is the runway long enough for the plane to take off? That's going to be the biggest thing. Is the runway long enough for the plane to take off? Because I think this group, this coaching staff, the development is going to be key. Development is going to be key if you want to keep the momentum rolling. Hey, listen, my name is Bryce Koon. Make sure to sub to the channel. If you're on Twitter, hit me with a follow. Hit the Hive GT with a follow. We got great content coming out there, myself and Ryan McKenzie. If you're going to be in Atlanta this weekend for a nice baseball series, and we're going to talk about other sports as well, but I wanted to kind of get you right off here with a day one spring practice recap. I think it's huge. I think it's big, and one of the biggest things we don't talk about enough is the fact that they started for spring practice early allows them to scout the portal and know what they need earlier than other teams. An interesting, unique advantage that we see in today's college football. Hey, once again, Bryce Koon, Crowded Booth. Make sure to hit that sub. Check out other videos on the channel, whatever you like. You like the Braves? We got some good conversations about Major League Baseball and the Braves. We got a good video lot coming out. Hey, you want some one-on-one interviews? I've got some cool one-on-one interviews. We're going to be rolling out more and more content. But my name's Bryce. We appreciate it.